Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Juggling Life Finding Balance podcast. I'm your host, Vivian Cummins, and today I have a special treat. I have one of my first coaches, my first writing coaches, Robert McDowell, with me today, and I have asked him to come on, and we're just going to have a conversation about writing, the coaching experience, and then kind of the journey to break down better, my new book that is coming out on December 30th. But before we get into all of that, Robert, thank you so much for being here, my friend. I would love for you to take a minute and introduce yourself to those who are listening and watching.
Thank you, Vivian, for having me. This is very exciting because I was there at the beginning, and now you have this beautiful book. My name is Robert McDowell. I'm a poet. I really have three lives. So, I'm a poet, a writer, author, and editor of 23 books. But I was also worked in publishing for many years with Storyline Press and now Homestead Lighthouse Press. And I've also been a teacher at every level from grade school to university. And now, of course, I am a certified minister, which, gives me the benefit of a good parking space when I go to a hospital or a hospice to visit people and talk and read. And also I can marry and officiate at funerals. So it's like the best of three worlds now.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. And yes, Robert was my first writing coach. And I tell you what, talk about divine connections, because I'm not easy. And I prayed that God would send me someone that could work with me and help me. Knowing I had some perfectionist tendencies and all those things. And God led me to Robert. And I'm going to tell y'all, I think we worked together, maybe 2 years? I can't remember. Was it about
It's
2 years?
about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like a long time, but we did work together for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt absolutely comfortable with you from the get-go. You have that voice, first of all. You got like a radio show host voice or something. And I was just like, oh, he's so calming. And here's the funny thing. We never saw each other. This is the very
Never.
first time
Yeah.
we have ever seen each other kind of face to face. I mean, we
Right.
always did everything on the phone. That was kind of before Zoom and Teams and all that
Yes.
stuff was a
Yes, it
thing, huh?
was. It was right
Yeah.
before everybody started doing Zoom, and
Yeah.
we just talked over the phone.
We did.
Yeah.
And usually our meetings were on Saturdays, and I really looked forward to our meetings. So I just want you to know that you were a godsend to me. And so I prayed for you and was so blessed to have you as my first writing coach. But I'd love for you to kind of explain to those who are listening and watching, like, as a writing coach, what is your role? What was your role?
Well, it depends, of course, with where the person is at in their writing life.
Mm-hmm.
You were, at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so we met right there at that wonderful moment where anything could happen. And I quickly became aware of the fact that yes, you were a perfectionist and you were very hard on yourself.
I know.
And that was unusual for me because usually I was in the role of not liking things.
Mm-hmm.
When the writer said, "Oh, but this was wonderful," whereas I would say to you, "This was wonderful," and you would say, "No, it's awful. I'm quitting. I'm not going to do it
Oh
anymore."
my gosh.
And it was an interesting reversal for me in a way of I really wanted to encourage you first because what did I notice about you? And again, people keep in mind that we weren't seeing each other. I didn't
Right.
even know what you looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So I had nothing clouding my vision, and I just liked. I could tell you were passionate about the story you wanted to tell. That's one thing. So you
Mm-hmm.
had passion. You also had compassion. You were very empathetic about people, and it was very quickly clear to me that you had wonderful stories to tell. And so I was excited about that. And I was trying to pull those stories out of you because in the very beginning, too, you didn't think a lot of your stories were any good. And why bother
Right.
with that? Well, who would want to know that? Well, I mean, I did. And so I always thought of myself as I'm a pretty good gauge of an average reader. I'm not maybe an average reader, but I have a feel for that.
Mm.
So that's what I was. Those were the things I detected in you at the very beginning, and that's why I uh, really wanted to stick with you. And really, often it came down to, well, I've got to convince her to keep going
Yeah.
because you would really sound like sometimes like I'm quitting. That's it. I don't have time for this, and it was. That would have been a mistake. I mean, obviously, and so I was trying to be a rally coach,
Mhm.
where you were the kind of person who needed the writer at the beginning writer. You didn't need a lot of criticism as far as you're
Mhm.
bad, bad, bad because you were doing all that yourself.
That's so true.
I was, but I felt very quickly I've got to be in the role of telling her what's good, so she can begin to recognize what she's doing that's good,
Mm.
and do more of that. And you picked that up, and you were also very bright and very sharp, very witty. That was fun. We laughed a lot,
We did.
and it was just it was a perfect match as far as
Mhm.
I felt it was. And, from a coaching point of view, it was delightful. I loved every minute of it. And I was sorry when you left. And I understood that, because you had to move on.
Mhm.
And it was time. And, look what you've done.
Oh. Well, yeah,
And
it's so
we've
funny.
stayed in touch all the
Oh,
way too.
yes.
And so
Oh,
I've known
yes.
all the different steps you've taken. I've known how you've moved across the country. You've
Mhm.
set up with your husband set up in a tough new job, and you both did great jobs, and you went through various stages of writing
Mhm.
seminars and
Mhm.
conferences and teachers, and they all led to this really beautiful book that you've written that
Oh,
I think
thank
is
you.
extremely helpful to everyone.
Thank you
So
so
I have read it
much.
cover to cover, and it was a wonderful experience. I always felt uplifted and happier when and I can see that that's always a wonderful thing to say about someone's book. I'm feeling kind of blue. Oh, I know. I'll just read 2 or 3 pages from Vivian's book. You know,
I love that. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for sharing with our listeners what a role that a writing coach does. And I'm going to tell you that yeah, I was very hard on myself. That's kind of my personality and kind of what led to the book to begin with, because a lot of that ended up being burnout and contributing to the breakdown and all that stuff. But
yes.
what I love so much about you is that you were as my coach, you had my best interest at heart. It wasn't a job to you. It was, I don't know how you felt, if I was a project maybe, or if you just were like, you know what, there's this person and I want to help her. And because but you did. I mean, whatever it was, again, I do believe it was God driven, but you were just always so encouraging to me. And, I knew that my writing, I mean, we all know first draft's always a bad draft, you know? And so I knew that it was going to need help eventually, but you just kept encouraging me and you were genuinely excited. Like when I would send you my stuff and you would read it and we'd get on the phone, you were genuinely excited about the stories and
Oh
the
yeah,
scenes that I was sending you. And
yeah.
that pumped me up and got me excited. So I should probably let the those listening and watching know that the book I was working on when I was working with you is not the book that I published. It is not Breakdown Better. It was actually a story about my husband and his life, pretty quirky life, and he's got some pretty amazing things. And I do think, Robert, tell me if I'm not mistaken, but I think that has a place on a shelf someday. I do. I think
Oh,
it's a
I think
good
it's a great book.
story.
I still, and this is not true of many of the books that I actually coach.
Mhm.
But I still remember that book almost page for page.
Mhm.
I remember
Mhm.
various stories. I think about them still. I chuckle. I remember, oh, that's like, or, that's
Yeah.
like, or, and I just, yes, absolutely. Of course. I
Yeah.
mean, I think you should complete that book at some point and publish
Yeah.
it because I think it's a beautiful,
Yeah.
it really is a wonderful series of, very strongly connected stories about,
Mhm.
his life,
Mhm.
particularly his childhood, in his
Yes.
early years, and
Yes.
they're fascinating. It's like another kind of a boy's life,
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah.
And I was just, as I say, I can still remember most of the book.
Well, and
So,
two, some of the stories that we were telling was, back home Oklahoma stuff, which some of it is just funny. And but some of the things that I was sharing in that, it was new to you. Like you had never heard of certain things like noodling.
yes,
I tell
exactly.
I
Yeah.
tell stories about my husband going noodling with his dad, and I remember I would send you that stuff, and you would be like, "What is this?" and you would laugh and stuff, and so it was just so fun to experience that with you, and you were just genuinely excited
No, there's
for
another one
me.
too that I really still think of because you promised that
Okay.
someday you would get me one.
Oh, what?
The fried pies, or remember that?
Fried pies. Yes. I got to figure out how to get you one of those. Yes. You had never had a fried pie and you were like, "Now what is that? How does that
Yeah, no,
work?" And
and
I'm
I
like,
and I
"Let me
thought you were
tell
kidding.
you."
When I read that, that was like the noodling. I thought it was a joke, and I thought fried pies, ha 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 ha. Because I like what, like it's fried chicken, but fried pies.
Right. Right,
So
right, right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there was lots of things like that, little things like that,
Yeah.
but they
But you
were
know
fun.
what?
Yeah,
The thing is I look back at that, as I'm looking at my journey on how I started one way, started with you, and then took such a detour. I look back and I'm like, God, what was the purpose of all of that? If that wasn't going to be the book that gets published first, why did I have to go through all of that? And I look back and I think, okay, that was all preparation. It if it weren't for you, I mean, you gave me so much great advice as far as my writing goes. But the thing that I think that you gave me the most was confidence. That's probably the one thing that has carried me to this point, was the confidence that you gave that I did have talent. Even though I was hard on myself, you constantly were reassuring and saying, "No, Viv, this is good. Keep going." And it
right.
was because of that, and it was because of that experience with you that I constantly kept trying. And so I just think that I'm just so blessed and thankful that you were the one that I was paired with that first time, because I attribute any success that I've had to the experience I had with you.
Oh, thank you. You would have gotten there anyway, I think, but that the point is, I never felt like I was in danger of condescending to you. Like, oh, well, I'm a real writer and you're not. I always felt right almost from the beginning that you were a writer.
Mhm.
And you were
Mhm.
just, all I recognized you were at a different stage than I was in your development.
Mhm.
But I had no doubt that you would get there. And here you are. And it's just, the detours, well, that's all God's plan. And, how do you make
Yeah.
God laugh? You tell him your plan.
He laughs. I always envision God. I know. I just kind of see God sometimes sitting up there and patting me on the head, being, "She is so darn cute." And I'm just like, "Lord, I know. I'm just, but yeah, the detours, there's purpose in the detours.
Yes.
And sometimes we take ourselves on the detour that was not God's plan, but he still uses it. And sometimes he puts the detour in our path on purpose. And so for whatever reason, I took a detour, and I kind of think the detour was my fault, but God did use it. Because I wonder, to this day, I'm like, okay, yes, our time had come to an end, but what would have happened if we would have just kept working together? I don't know. Would this have come to
Well,
fruition sooner? Who
yeah,
knows?
we will never know that. I mean, something would have
Mm-mm.
happened, but
Mm-hmm.
we never know what that is. I
Yeah.
think the detours you took, and particularly the very unpleasant one you took,
Mm,
if I may bring that up for a moment.
mm,
But that also taught you some very essential things you needed to know,
yeah.
because the more you became expert in the writing life, which is,
Hmm.
we were talking a bit about earlier about this, which includes publishing, the
Right.
publishing world,
Hmm.
the world of editors, the world of other coaches. That experience taught you great resilience, and it gave you something to compare your earlier experience to and future
Yeah.
experiences to.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's important to know that it's not all successful and it's not all easy. It never is. I mean,
Hmm.
every good writer has gone through a terrible experience or two in their development and their careers. I've certainly have, and every writer I know has, and
Hmm.
it's all part of the plan. But ultimately, I was wiser for my experiences, and I know you feel that you are,
Yeah.
and your radar got better, and I doubt that you will ever have that kind of experience again with anyone that
Hmm.
you work with,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
wouldn't go into it. Your alarm system would go off, and you'd
Right.
say, "Oh, no, I've been down this road.
Right.
I don't
Right.
do this
And,
again."
and I've learned a lot about myself too. And
Yes,
I've learned so there's been I've had three writing coaches. You, that other person, and then the last person who was just wonderful. She was absolutely wonderful. And you and her took the time to understand me. I mean, you took the time to see, okay, what makes her tick, what is helpful for her, what is harmful for her. And that's how you coached me. And so I think that that is so important that, for anybody that's coaching, whether it's a life coach, a literary coach, whatever it is, to get to know your client individually, because not everybody's cut from the same cloth. And, what you might do for one of your clients could totally destroy me and throw me into such writer's block that I can't that I can't even, get
yes,
anything out on the paper, which is what happened to me at one point. But that's something that I've learned about myself too, is to be upfront and open with people and tell them, here's my expectations on how I need to be treated. And I understand that I'm very hard on myself. And I understand that I have very high expectations. And you need to understand that too, because, the way that you give me feedback is very important here about our relationship and whether or not I'm going to move forward. And so I've learned that about myself. And I've also learned it's okay to be vulnerable and to share that with people
yeah,
because it's no good for anybody if I hold that in and then we have a bad experience, right?
right.
So,
But it's also
yeah.
empowering. It's empowering to you
Mhm.
to be able to express very clearly how you
Mhm.
want to be treated,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
and I think that's important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So as a coach, I mean, you've coached up a lot of people over the years. Tell us what it feels like in this moment to be the coach and then seeing someone that you coached finally get to that point of publishing a book.
Well, it's great feeling of, I always feel that I've been very blessed and lucky in my life that been able to write some of my own books and see them into print,
Mhm.
and then but also to be, as a publisher and as a coach and an editor, I've been in the position to walk many other books by other people into the printed world,
Mhm.
and it is always a thrill. I suppose it's sort of like raising a child. That may
Yeah.
not be a good example, because
I
certainly,
get it. I
yeah,
get it.
but it's or it's like nurturing a garden.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
growing a good garden, and it takes time, and it takes
Mhm.
some of it's hit and miss, and some of it
Mhm.
doesn't work out, and but you overcome obstacles, and then you have this wonderful experience at the end where, oh, there's a book here, and then
Yeah.
there's other books after that, from that author, and so it's a great blessing to be a writer, but also to be uh, that other life, that other hat, to be able to wear that
Mhm.
other hat and to facilitate the work of other authors has always been a great blessing for me.
Yeah.
I just feel very lucky, and that was I was anointed with that.
Yeah.
I was directed to do that, and
Mhm.
it's just a thrill.
Mhm.
It's similar to teaching.
Mhm. Sure.
Especially if you're teaching undergraduates or at the college level, if you're teaching undergraduates, or
Yeah.
if you're in high school.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
similar to that kind of process.
Yeah.
And but with coaching, you have a longer shelf life with it.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
school, you've got one term and that's it; they're gone.
Yeah.
But if you're coaching and it's a good relationship, as ours was, it can go on for a while,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it can have a lasting impact.
Mhm.
And it changed me too. I became a better coach because of you,
Oh.
and learning. No, I really I believe that I learned how to be a better listener, and
Mm.
how to be a more inventive communicator,
Mhm.
uh, thanks to you. And
Oh, thank you.
so I'm giving you thanks, and I'm grateful that
Oh.
that that I had the opportunity to be working with you for so long,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
having the kind of success I thought we had.
Mhm.
And then, of course, seeing you go on, because as I said, we've stayed in touch, and
Mhm.
I've known
Mhm.
every new thing you've been doing, and then you get to this book, and I know that this is such an exciting time for you, and well deserved, because you've worked really hard,
Thank you.
and you've written a beautiful book.
Thank you so much. Well, and because of that relationship, I hold you in such high esteem. I had asked you if you wouldn't mind being an endorser for my book.
Right.
And so endorsers are just people who get a copy of it before anybody else does, takes a whack at it, reads it, and then if they believe in the message, then they are happy to provide an endorsement that says, yes, this is a great book. And so I reached out to you, even though this book, the title says 52 Restoring Devotionals for Burned Out Women. You're clearly not a woman. But I asked you if you would, because number one, I just respect your opinion so deeply. And two, you've been there from the beginning. And so I have that. I totally understand the relationship that, as you just described it, as kind of a parent thing. I do feel like the kid here. I do feel like the kid, and I feel like you are that adult figure that I want to be proud of me. And so that there is that close relationship that we have. And when I was thinking, when then the publisher's like, you need to get some endorsers, and you were the first one that came to my mind. I'm like, I don't care that he's not a woman, I want him to read this because I want his opinion. And so you graciously agreed to do that. So I guess my first question is, I kind of already know, but why did you agree to endorse something when the target audience is women?
Well, I've worked with women most of my life, and I
Mhm.
like, actually, a secret is I enjoy working with women more than I enjoy working with
Oh.
men. So there's that, and I would have been my feelings would have been hurt, I think, if you hadn't asked me. So
Oh, well,
I
I'm
was
glad I
so
didn't hurt your
relieved when you
feelings.
asked me. It never even occurred to me. Yeah, I never even had a thought for a moment where I thought, well, oh, but I'm a man, and
Mm,
this is a book for women, because I have. Uh, I've got a novel that is eventually going to come out that's all about women, and
mm,
I have worked with women, groups of women at centers and retreat centers, and I have offered programs for women. I don't do that so much now because, of course, the whole movement has changed so much that
mhm.
uh, we're now in a situation where those programs are it's almost required now that women have to run them.
Sure.
And I remember when Jean Houston was doing her mystery schools at the Institute of Noetic Arts, not far from where you live. She really was very expansive and wanted men to come, many more women came to those. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know this because I attended two of them, but I would say it was 3-1 women to men,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes even 4-1. So, but she was at least trying to bring men into that kind of movement,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a great thing. Now, from my spiritual perspective, am happy to talk about or happy to acknowledge that we each have a masculine and a feminine, and in a balanced person, those are in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're out of balance, usually one is kind of dominating the other, or one has shriveled up and is not very effective. And it's always been my goal to awaken what I call the divine feminine in men, and bring them back closer together with what women are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I mean, it all goes in cycles, and we will come again to a time when women and men are sitting more comfortably together in the room. But I think so many with Me Too and
Mm-hmm.
the canceling this and the canceling that, men and women are not very comfortable in the same room right now
Mm-hmm.
in a formal situation. At least that's my take. I don't know if you agree with that, but
Mm-hmm.
it seems to me that it's a very uncomfortable arrangement right now. And I think the last thing that a sensitive man wants to do is inadvertently threaten a woman's space. By like
Mm-hmm.
showing up and saying, "But I want to come in,"
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
women are saying, "No, no, no, you can't." But I'm a
Yeah.
good guy. Well, too
Yeah.
bad. But and I understand that there is there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
In everything there's a season, and there's a time and a place for women to be alone and to work through these various issues that they're working on very hard. So I understand that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm at the ready
Mm-hmm.
to support. Anybody who visits my website will see that I'm very obviously a supporter of women,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe in uh, equal pay,
Mm-hmm.
equal rights, freedom for women, and I just so I felt it's very natural for me to do this book, to have
Mm-hmm.
endorsed this book, and and I would encourage every man I know to read it.
Well, thank you.
So
I had interviewed last week. It's going to air next week. One of my prior coworkers, his name's Anthony, and he too has been kind of following me in this journey. And so when the book came out for pre-orders, he did get it and he read it, and we got to talking, and he's like, Vivian, this is for men too. And I was like, Anthony, I know, but you have to have a target audience, and I'm a woman. And he's so. Anyways, I interviewed him, and we called. I can't remember the name of the podcast, what I called it, but it's essentially Men Breakdown Too is what I'm trying to say.
sure.
And so we had that conversation. He's like, really, there's things in this book that men can read and will help them as well. So I guess my next question to you is, what inside of Breakdown Better spoke to you?
Well, the book, virtually every lesson every day, gives you a map of how to heal yourself,
Mm,
and how to heal yourself by giving yourself to God or a greater power, however you feel comfortable describing it. The book is universal in that regard. It is a book that is there to take you by the hand and walk you through the rubble of the
mhm.
breakdown you've suffered.
Yeah.
And as you said, men have these breakdowns too.
Mm,
Maybe men break down all the time,
mhm.
and but that many men have problems being vulnerable and even feeling like they should be healing.
Sure.
Rather than just toughing it out and just going with it. Uh, I would say that this book is a very reasonable and compassionate and loving embrace of the
Mhm.
male. And that's surprised. That's what that was a little surprising, but knowing you, not really.
Yeah.
And it was a
Mhm.
so yes, the book is for women, but again, for men, it brings men. If a man reads this book, he will want to come back and lean into his women, and
Mm.
with compassion and empathy, rather than being, repulsed and pushed away,
Sure.
and protecting himself. And
Mhm.
that's why the book is so important for men to read. And
Mm.
it's also I love how it's broken up so that it's not going to challenge men. Men are always afraid they're going to have to read Tolstoy,
Yeah.
or Proust,
Yeah.
or James Joyce. But this is very accessible. It's very inviting. It's very open-hearted, and that's what I felt. I felt very much invited in, and it was so accessible, and it was so immediately accessible that I was thrilled, and it just felt so comfortable. Now, of course, I couldn't break away completely from the fact that I knew you're the author, and I
Right.
think so highly of you.
Mm.
Of course, so I had a little advantage, I suppose, but um, I still think the book is very very attractive and uh, sympathetic to what men go through. In other words, a man can read any moment in this book and just open it cold and read any four sentences and realize that's me,
Mm.
or I've been there, or that
Mhm.
happened to me.
Mhm.
So I believe that if a man does that, then they will be hooked and say, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
what's the next one?" Oh, and they're not going to be disappointed because they are in the book.
Sure. Well, thank you for
That's a
sharing that.
long-winded. I guess that was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's so good. It's so good because I've had these conversations. In fact, you and Anthony are the first men that I've had on my podcast because typically it's women's issues and so forth. So I'm so thrilled to have y'all come on. But that's so lovely to know because when I first set out to write this book, first of all, let me just say, I did not set out to write a book about burnout or breakdown for women or anybody. I that was never on my radar. But as I was going through the seasons and the journey that I was on, that's when God really started downloading that I need you to tell this because there's other people who need to hear it. And so, then you do get that feedback from writing coaches that says, okay, who's your target audience? And you want everybody to be your target audience. You're like, well, I want what God has done for me. I want everybody to experience that. But you can't write to everyone necessarily. And so I did have to kind of like, well, I'm a woman. I know what I went through. I know what my life is like. I know what brought on the burnout and stuff like that in my life. And we write about what we know. And so that's what I did. But then it's just so funny because I am hearing now from men, and my husband's even read portions of it as well. And it's like this really could be for everyone. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. And the other thing too that you mentioned, like I wrote this book to be short for 52 days because number 1, I'm busy. And I figure those that'll pick up this book, they're busy too. And to pick up a big thick novel or a huge self-help book, nobody got time for that.
Right. Exactly.
If you have time for that, you're probably not going to need what's in this book because you actually have time. And those of us who need this book, we have none. And so that's another thing too. My husband has always said, because he doesn't have time to read. He reads really quick, short things or articles or whatever. And so I think that that's one of the things that males might appreciate with this book is that, I mean, it's pretty thin. I think it's only like 100. How many pages is like 140 something pages or whatever. And the day's devotionals are really short, punchy, and to the point. So I don't know. As a man, do you agree with that?
I agree with that completely. And I thought of one other thing though that it's very important for men to realize that if you really truly want to better understand your your women in your lives,
Yeah.
you know, That doesn't sound quite right, but you know what I mean.
I
Uh,
know what you mean. Everybody knows what you mean. I
and
hope.
understand them and learn better how to listen to them. This
Mm-hmm.
book is perfect
Mm-hmm. Sure.
without being
Thank you.
painful. So
Oh.
there's nothing about it telling a man, listen, you better shape up and, listen to her about when she's going through this. There's nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
So I think, again, it makes it very attractive for men
Hmm.
because really most men do want to better understand the women in their life, but
Sure.
they have no clue
Mm-hmm.
how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we go through things differently,
Yes,
and honestly too, like I just mentioned, and the things that lead a woman to burn out and eventually break down are going to be completely different than the things that lead men to that.
yes,
And I think so much of that is because of our gender roles. And if you're in the workplace, there's sometimes for women there's things that we're experiencing and going through that men don't understand because they're not treated the same way. And so it's different. It really is different, but the end result is the same, which is burnout and breakdown. And so I think that in the book I break it into three parts. And for me, what worked for me was putting God first in all of my decisions and priorities, taking care of myself, which is more than just eating right, drinking water, exercising. It's
right.
doing those things to help myself stay away from stressors. Like one of the devotionals is talking about live within your means, and it's talking
Yes,
about financial security, or excuse me, financial freedom. Because
right, right.
how often do we get ourselves stressed out when we overspend and we don't have enough to pay our bills or whatever? Those are things that we can do to care for our own, mental and physical selves, that it's easy to do. It's easy to do. And so I talk about things like that. And then, of course, the third piece is the fun piece. And when
Right.
I was going through my season of burnout, and then, of course, the breakdown that I talk about in the book, I realized I could not remember the last time that I had had fun. And that kind of scared me. And so I talk to my husband all the time now. When I feel like we're getting a little stressed and kind of falling into a rut, I said, when was the last time we laughed? And so and just like really belly laughed where you can't breathe or you got tears and snot running down your face. Um, and sometimes it's like, ooh, I don't know. And so we're kind of in that space right now. It's like, when was the last time we really laughed? And because we can't really remember that time, we have tickets to go see John Christ. He's going to be coming to our local theater. He's a comedian, and we're going to go and we're going to spend 90 minutes just laughing, because that is
Perfect,
so helpful, so helpful.
perfect.
And that's one of the three things that I believe we have to have a balanced life. So yeah. So thank you for sharing from a male's perspective. And I'm so grateful and blessed that you got some great nuggets out of this book. As we come to a close today, I could talk to you forever, but I know you've got things to do, and our listeners probably have to get on with their day as well. But if you could sum up, break down better to everybody, male, female, whoever, in one word or one sentence, what is it that you would say?
Oh, it wouldn't be one word, I don't think. I would say your second chance.
Oh,
It's
I love
it
that.
gives it made me feel like this is opportunity. This is an opportunity to step into a better life,
Mm,
better relationships, better understanding of your partners, and it's just I think it's healing too. Second chance, a second chance at healing
mm,
and at being your best self, and then bringing that as the good servant to the woman you love,
mm,
and not just the woman you love as a partner. Perhaps it's your mother or your sister.
mhm,
Any woman in your life that you love. You need to know more about them, and you need to know how to listen to them and support them.
Mm-hmm.
And your book is like a blueprint for that.
Mm.
So
Thank
it's
you.
a spiritual blueprint for healing and bringing the male and the female together. Now, I know it is also a wonderful book just for women, and it can be read simply that way. But you know, I always have to spin it with the men in mind too, since you know I come from that side of the gender gap, and uh, it's a book that is, you know, as we've said, it speaks to everybody. I
Yeah.
expect it to be a great success, and it's a book that will have, as we say in publishing, legs.
Oh,
It will have
thank you.
legs. It will keep going. It
Thank
will
you.
be around for a while, and you know you'll probably be doing a sequel,
Oh,
and
thank
that would
you.
be good too. So uh, I'm just grateful that someone I know and that I was able to get to know really well has produced something so wonderful. And I'm very
Oh,
proud of you, and I'm
thank
proud
you.
of the book. And I hope every man who I've ever run into or ever listened to me will read it. And
Thank you
every
so
man who
much.
hasn't yet, but
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Robert. Oh my gosh, you are such a blessing to me. I am so glad that God brought you into my life and that we're able to stay in touch. And thank you for your endorsement. That means the absolute world to me. And thank you for spending time with me today. So those of you who are listening and watching, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode with my sweet dear friend Robert. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you click that subscribe button wherever you're listening or watching so that you won't miss a new episode when it's uploaded. And then, two, here's the last thing I'll say. Here's a copy of my new book. It's called Breakdown Better 52 Restoring Devotionals for Burned Out Women, but it can be for men too. And it actually releases on December 30th, so just about 5 weeks away. But you can pre-order it today on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart's carrying it, I think Target, anywhere that you order your online book. So please make sure you go out there and pre-order yours today. And then one last thing is we will be also publishing a self-guided journal that's going to allow you to dive deep into this devotional. So if you're one of those people that you want to really dive deep into it, get really into these scriptures, we're going to have that available hopefully at the end of the year. So be sure to be looking for that. So until next time, be blessed and stay balanced.
thank you.